Cain and Abel, a story of two brothers that questions human morality at the beginning of mankind. What is its message and what can we learn from it? The initial, perhaps most puzzling question is, why did God reject Cain's sacrifice? What was it about Abel's offering that pleased God more than that of Cain? Following upon that question would be the mystery of why Cain killed Abel. While commentators, ancient and modern, suggest that it was because Cain was jealous of Abel, the Bible provides no more a specific reason for the murder than it does for what makes Abel's sacrifice better than Cain's. On the other hand, some interpreters suggested that there was something sinister behind the killing, that there was something inborn about Cain that made him earn the title of the first murderer. These interpreters speculated that it had something to do with Cain's birth and childhood that led him to earning the said title. They also asked similar questions about Abel. The result of these speculations led to the development of traditions that became associated with the births and occupations of the two brothers. Before we continue, consider supporting the channel by liking and subscribing if you want more content like this. In the Apocryphon of John, Yaldabaoth is the evil creator god who creates angels to rule the world and aid in the creation of human beings. It was claimed that both Cain and Abel are listed among the 12 authorities birthed by Sophia. The identification of Cain and Abel with Elohim and Yahweh, with the Hebrew Yahweh and Elohim, is easily deduced, and coupled with the seduction of Eve, demonstrates the author's intention of describing Eve's son as being the result of a sexual encounter with the divine being. Thus, in the Apocryphon of John, both of the brothers are descended from a divine being rather than just Cain, and both became authorities who ruled over the elemental elements of creation. The important difference, however, lies in their essential character traits. Cain is unrighteous, while Abel is righteous. While Genesis provides no such explicit description of the brothers, these epithets became part of the Jewish and Christian tradition. The apparent differences in the descriptions of births point out that Cain wasn't the true son of Adam. For example, the birth of Seth in Genesis chapter 5 verse 3 is described as follows. Adam begot a son in his own likeness, his own image, and called him Seth. While Cain's birth says, "And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain, and she said, I have gotten a man through God." Who was his father then? Surprisingly enough, some researchers point out that it was the devil that was often identified as the father of the man who would become the world's first murderer, even though the devil doesn't appear in the story of Cain and Abel.
Now we will continue with the story. And again, she brought forth his brother Abel, and Abel was a shepherd, and Cain a husbandman. Before going further, it is important to see what their occupations mean when describing their personalities. When it comes to Cain, he is the oldest son, and his role is to continue the tradition and status quo. Being an agriculturist, he represents stability and order. Abel as a shepherd, on the other hand, stands for flexibility and movement. His role is important because he protects the vulnerable animals, expressing the king archetype in some sense, which may be the cause for Cain's envious feelings in the first place and going to the extreme of order, tyranny. And it came to pass after many days that Cain offered of the fruits of the earth gifts to the Lord. Abel also offered of the firstlings of his flock and of their fat. And the Lord had respect to Abel and to his offerings. But to Cain and his offerings he had no respect. And Cain was exceeding angry, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said to him, Why art thou angry? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou do well, shalt thou not receive? But if ill, shall not sin forthwith be present at the door, but the lust thereof shall be under thee, and thou shalt have dominion over it. And Cain said to Abel his brother, Let us go forth abroad. And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel, and slew him. And the Lord said to Cain, Where is thy brother Abel? And he answered, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said to him, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth to me from the earth. Now therefore cursed shall thou be upon the earth, which hath opened her mouth, and received the blood of thy brother at thy hand. When thou shalt till it, it shall not yield to thee its fruit. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be upon the earth. And Cain said to the Lord, My iniquity is greater than that I may deserve pardon. Behold, thou dost cast me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face I shall be hid, and I shall be a vagabond and a fugitive on the earth. Every one therefore that findeth me shall kill me. And the Lord said to him, No, it shall not so be, but whosoever shall kill Cain shall be punished sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, that whosoever found him should not kill him. And Cain went out from the face of the Lord, and dwelt as a fugitive on the earth at the east side of Eden. This short archetypal story dazzled the collective mind for centuries, so it is worth thinking about it. How do you feel about the first murderer? Comment below, we would like to see your standpoint on this matter. The battle between Cain and Abel can be viewed as the conflict in our own psyche. Everyone has both of those sides inside them, both archetypal patterns that are shown to others. Abel represents our higher self, the part of us that is full of gratitude and pleases the God, meaning his sacrifice is not useless and without reason. This part is important because there lies the explanation of opposites between the two brothers. Sacrifice is important in every human's life. It means that you are willing to suffer in the present for the future to be better. It should be done with a humble spirit and warm heart, accepting the nature of life and understanding its purpose. Abel was aligned with that, while Cain wasn't. He filled his heart with grudge and hatred towards Abel and God himself. For Cain, Abel is the ideal that judges him, and instead of pursuing him, he kills him because of his ignorance and aggression. He killed the opportunity to develop, therefore determining himself for a miserable life. And his sin is not great solely because of his act, but because the act was preceded with active thought. How much hate needs to be present in a being to kill his own brother and his own ideal? As Jordan B. Peterson in the book Maps of Meaning stated, the mythic hostile brothers, Spenta-Manu and Engra-Manu, Osiris and Seth, Gilgamesh and Enkidu, Cain and Abel, Christ and Satan, are representative of two eternal individual tendencies, twin sons of God, heroic and adversarial. The former tendency, the archetypal savior, is the everlasting spirit of creation and transformation, characterized internally by the capacity to admit to the unknown and therefore to progress toward the kingdom of heaven. The eternal adversary, by contrast, is incarnation in practice, imagination and philosophy of the spirit of denial, eternal rejection of the redeeming unknown, and the adoption of rigid self-identification." End quote. From a Jungian perspective, we can also say that Cain is the shadow part which operates within us, even though we are not aware of its nature and consequences. Carl Jung said, "The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. For no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality as present and real. This act is the essential condition for any kind of self-knowledge." End quote. Later in the story, we saw that Cain recognized this dark part of his personality and regretted for letting it operate. He got scared of being murdered for his acts since he killed a person that was admired and loved. God decided to protect him by saying that the person who kills Cain shall be punished sevenfold. By doing this, he stopped the chain of murders and revengeful acts. Now let's conclude this video with a quote of Alexander Solzhenitsyn. The line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being, and who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? Thanks for watching and rebuilding Olympus.